In the heart of Lusaka lived two strangers from different worlds. Jabari Mwansa, a lonely tech millionaire hiding behind walls of glass and silence. Thandiwe Banda, a humble housemaid with calloused hands and a heart full of light. They were never meant to meet, but fate had other plans. Jabari Mwansa stood on his balcony, arms folded, watching from above. Thandiwe, his housemaid, was hurrying down the steps again, two shopping bags in her hands. She was always efficient, always quiet, but lately, always leaving early. And he was suspecting that she was stealing from his house. "Thandiwe," he called out. She stopped, turning slowly. "Yes, Mr. Mwansa. What's in the bags?" She looked down at them, gripping the handles tighter. "Just groceries, sir, for my mother." Jabari studied her face. She looked calm, but her voice, there was something off. "Is she unwell again?" Thandiwe nodded. "Yes, she's not been strong lately." "You've been leaving early 3 times this week," he said, stepping closer. "Are you sure there's nothing else?" She hesitated. "I'm just trying to take care of family, sir. I'm sorry if it's a problem." Jabari's tone hardened. "I don't like lies, Thandiwe." Her eyes flinched. "Then maybe you should hire someone else." She turned and walked away. Inside, Jabari sat in his cold, quiet office and called his assistant. "Chilufya, I want you to run a background check on her. Thandiwe Banda, everything." Chilufya sighed. "Boss, again? She's only been here 2 months. Just do it." 2 hours later, Chilufya called back. "Clean as a church floor, nothing suspicious." "Too clean," Jabari muttered. He stared at her file on his laptop. Her ID checked out. Her references are spotless, but there were holes, odd gaps in time. He opened the security logs. Yesterday at lunch, she was browsing expensive jewelry sites on her phone. A week ago, he found a receipt in her jacket pocket, a money transfer of 8,000 wacha, or chapata. And the phone call he overheard last night? In Chawa, fast, panicked. He only caught one word, Madzi Achedwa, water problem. But Jabari felt something deeper, mistrust, again. That evening, Jabari sat alone in his study sipping black tea. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Thandiwe. "Working late tonight, please don't wait up." Jabari raised an eyebrow. Working late? He hadn't assigned her any evening duties. In fact, he'd given her the night off. His heart beat faster. She's lying. He stood up, grabbed his car keys, and walked to the garage. His black Range Rover purred to life. "If there's nothing to hide," he muttered, "why lie?" He parked a few streets away from the usual bus stop in Kabulonga. Just past 6:15, he saw her, Thandiwe, wearing a blue chitenge skirt, head down, holding 2 shopping bags. She boarded the number 12 bus heading to Madis Township. Jabari followed quietly, 3 cars behind. The roads changed quickly. Neat lawns turned to dusty alleys. Streetlights flickered. Children played near ditches. The bus stopped, and Thandiwe stepped off near a crumbling building with faded paint. A sign above the door read, Tiende Pamadzi Community Center. Jabari frowned. "What is this place?" He parked and walked closer, staying in the shadows. Through a cracked window, he peeked inside. There she was. Thandiwe placed the bags on a small table. A group of elderly men and women sat in plastic chairs, each holding a notebook. Thandiwe smiled, warm and wide. "Okay, let's practice again. Can I please have a glass of water?" The old man beside her mumbled something. She bent beside him gently, repeating the phrase with patience. Laughter erupted when an old lady said, "Can I have chicken and 3 husbands?" The whole room chuckled, including Thandiwe. Jabari stepped back, stunned. She's not stealing, she's teaching. She's feeding people, she's giving. For the next hour, he watched her lead the class, help serve sandwiches, and clean up with the elders. Her face glowed. This wasn't the quiet housemaid he knew. This was someone full of purpose. Inside him, something cracked. All this time, he thought she was hiding something dark, but what she was hiding was light. Jabari couldn't stop watching her. From the cracked window, he saw a woman transformed. Thandiwe was laughing, moving from one student to the next, correcting words gently, kneeling by their chairs, clapping when they got it right. "Very good, Mama Joyce. That was perfect." She gave encouragement like water, freely, endlessly. Jabari leaned against the wall outside, heart tight in his chest. She had never smiled like that in his house, never laughed so openly. He had only seen her as quiet, careful, like a shadow moving between rooms. But here, she was the sun. After the lesson, Thandiwe opened her shopping bags and brought out loaves of bread, small packs of juice, some boiled eggs, and bananas. She laid them on a table and began handing them out. "Eat, Mama Cheleshe, you didn't have lunch today?" "Baba Tembo, take 2 eggs. You walked all the way here." They joked, ate, and thanked her like she was a daughter to them. One of the men said, "We don't just come for English, we come for your love." She smiled, wiping her hands. "And I come for all of you." Jabari backed away slowly, shaken. That night at home, he couldn't sleep. Instead, he sat in his study, searching everything he could find about Tienda Pamadzi Community Center. It was worse than he expected. The building was old. Their donation records were public. The center ran almost entirely on volunteer help and small gifts from market vendors and church groups. Rent was overdue. Their programs were shrinking. They were 3 months away from shutting down. Jabari stared at the screen. She's working 3 jobs to keep this place alive. He opened his banking app, stared at the screen for a long time, then typed in K1 million kwacha. He didn't attach his name. The next morning, Jabari sat at the kitchen table sipping tea when the door opened. Thandiwe rushed in, beaming. Her eyes were sparkling like morning dew. "Mr. Mwansa!" she shouted. "You won't believe what happened!" He raised an eyebrow calmly. "The center. Someone donated 1 million kwacha yesterday, just like that. We can pay rent, buy supplies, fix the leaking roof." "Really?" Jabari asked, setting his cup down. "That's incredible. I can't believe it. Whoever it was, they saved us. They didn't leave a name, they just believed in what we do." Jabari smiled faintly. Good people still exist, it seems. Thandiwe nodded, hand over her heart. Yes, they do. And for the first time in years, Jabari Mwansa felt rich. Not in money, but in meaning. Jabari started staying home more often. He told himself it was just to rest. But somehow, every time Thandiwe entered a room, he'd find a reason to be there too. One afternoon, she was wiping the bookshelves when he cleared his throat behind her. "You're always so focused," he said. She turned, surprised. "I try to do things properly." "Even when no one is watching?" She smiled faintly. "That's when it matters most." They began to talk more. At first, small things. The weather, traffic, household chores. But slowly, their conversations grew deeper. One day, she was in the kitchen, scribbling in a notebook. Jabari noticed. "Studying?" Thandiwe nodded. "My thesis." "On what?" "Barriers to opportunity," she said. "Especially for poor families. Language, money, education. Some people are never given a chance." He sat across from her. "And you want to change that?" "Yes," she said softly. "I want to be a community social worker. I want to help people climb out." Jabari watched her. "You're smart." She laughed, shaking her head. "No, just determined." He disagreed silently. Another week passed. One evening, Thandiwe entered the house humming, face glowing. "What's the celebration?" Jabari asked. She turned to him, eyes wide. "We got a second donation. Brand new computers for the center." Jabari feigned surprise. "Really?" "Yes, can you believe it? The children can finally learn digital skills. Even Mama Joyce wants to learn to email her daughter in the UK." "That's wonderful," he said, trying not to smile. Their bond grew with every moment. She'd walk into a room and Jabari's heart would lift. She began making him tea without asking. He began offering her books from his personal shelf. One morning, she paused at the door and said softly, "In our center, we don't have much, but we share everything." Jabari nodded, words stuck in his throat. They never spoke of love, but it was there, in stolen glances, in shared silences, in small kindnesses that meant more than words. 2 hearts, from different worlds, slowly leaning toward each other. Not with force, Jabari, but with quiet gravity. One evening, Jabari stood in the living room pacing. He had made up his mind. When Thandiwe walked in, tired from work but still smiling, he turned to face her. "Thandiwe," he began, "I want to offer you a new position." She blinked. "A new position?" "Yes, full-time estate manager. You'd be in charge of everything, the house, staff coordination, even my travel schedule. I'll triple your salary. You'll have health benefits, paid leave, the works." Her mouth opened slightly. "That's very generous, sir." He looked at her gently. "You've earned it. You're smart. You're capable. I trust you." She swallowed. "It would help my mother. I could finally breathe a little." "Exactly," Jabari said. "No more juggling 3 jobs." But her smile faded. "I'd have to leave the center," she said softly. "There's no way I could manage both." "You've already done more than most," Jabari said carefully. "Maybe it's time to take care of yourself." She nodded slowly. "May I think about it?" "Of course." A week passed. They didn't speak much. Jabari waited, anxious. One morning, Thandiwe knocked on his office door. She stepped in, eyes glistening. "I've decided," she whispered. He stood up quickly. "And?" "I'm sorry," she said, voice shaking. "I have to say no." Jabari froze. "I'm grateful for the offer," she continued, "really, but I'd be giving up the one place that gives me meaning." "Even with all the struggles?" he asked, confused. She nodded. "Yes, the center, the people, that's my heart." She wiped a tear. "And there's another reason." Jabari's breath caught. "I've fallen in love," she said softly, "with someone I can't have, someone who inspires me, who makes me want to fight harder." His chest tightened. "Someone else?" She looked down. "Yes, but it could never work. We're from 2 different worlds. I had to choose, and I chose my purpose." Jabari stood silently as she walked out. His heart felt heavy. So there is someone who moves her more than I do, he thought bitterly. Someone like her, full of fire and light. Not a guarded man with walls too high to climb. And for the first time in years, Jabari felt truly alone. 2 weeks later, Thandiwe stood quietly in Jabari's study, holding a small envelope. "I need to give my notice," she said gently. Jabari looked up, his throat tightening. "You're leaving?" She nodded. "I got accepted into graduate school, social work, full scholarship." He forced a smile. That's wonderful. "I start in 2 months," she said. "It's everything I dreamed of, but I'll still help at the center while I study." He nodded slowly. "I'll miss your presence around here." She smiled faintly. "I'll miss it too." After that, Jabari helped from a quiet distance. He edited her CV, wrote glowing references, even pulled strings to connect her with leaders in the field, all anonymously. Then, she was gone. The house felt cold again, quiet, organized, lifeless. He hired a new housemaid, efficient, polite, but distant. No humming in the hallway, no laughter in the kitchen. Still, Jabari stayed connected, not to Thandiwe, but to her world. He made anonymous donations each month. The center added new chairs, fixed the windows, even launched a youth program. And she was everywhere, on flyers, in news clippings, smiling as she helped others grow. One quiet Saturday, an envelope arrived at Jabari's gate. No name, just a wax seal of the community center. He opened it slowly. "You are invited to the Tiende Pamodzi annual gala honoring our Volunteer of the Year, Miss Thandiwe Banda." Jabari sat down, the paper trembling in his hands. Volunteer of the Year. She had done it. She had become exactly who she said she wanted to be. He looked out the window. The city lights flickered like distant dreams. He wasn't sure why his heart beat so fast. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe it was the feeling of fate knocking one last time. The Tiende Pamodzi Center looked like a dream that night. String lights twinkled above, and families sat at decorated tables, laughter filling the air. Jabari stood quietly near the back wall, dressed in a dark blue suit. He didn't belong here, not really, but he had to see her. Then he saw her. Thandiwe walked in, wearing a simple green dress, her hair tied back, her eyes shining. She moved through the crowd with grace, hugging students, shaking hands with elders. Their eyes met across the room. She paused. His heart jumped. Before he could move, someone stepped on stage. "Please welcome our Volunteer of the Year, Thandiwe Banda." The room erupted in cheers. Thandiwe walked to the stage holding a small glass plaque. She took the mic, her voice steady. "This place saved me," she said. "When I felt small, it made me feel needed. When we almost closed, someone gave, quietly, generously, without asking for anything in return. An angel we never met." She paused, her eyes sweeping the crowd. For a moment, they landed on Jabari again. "To that person, wherever you are, you saved us. You gave people like Mama Joyce and Baba Tembo another chance to dream." The applause was thunderous. After the ceremony, Thandiwe found Jabari standing near the hallway. "You came," she said, voice soft. "I had to," he replied. They stood in silence. "There's something I need to tell you," Jabari said. She nodded. "The donations, the computers, even the money for your mother's surgery. It was me." Her eyes widened. "You?" "I followed you that night. I thought you were stealing, but instead I saw the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Thandiwe stepped back, hurt. "You watched my life, and never told me? You helped in silence, without asking if I wanted it?" "I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid you'd reject it. Afraid you'd reject me." She looked at him long and hard. "I didn't fall for just anyone, Jabari," she whispered. "The man I loved was impossible, generous, quiet, brave." He blinked. "You were the impossible man all along," she said. Tears welled in his eyes. "Thandiwe," he whispered, "I love you." She smiled softly. "Then let's stop hiding." And in that moment, two hearts finally met, not in secret, but in full light. They stood in the quiet hallway, tears in their eyes. Jabari reached for her hand. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered. Thandiwe shook her head, smiling through tears. "You found me, Jabari. You just didn't know you were looking." And in that moment, they embraced, the past forgiven, the future wide open. 1 year later, the Tiende Pamoji Center looked completely different. Fresh paint, new lights, a wide banner hung above the entrance, the Thandiwe Banda Mwanza Learning Hub. Underneath it, rows of chairs filled with guests from every corner of life. Businessmen in suits, market vendors in colorful chittinges. Former students and city officials sat side by side. Inside, the room glowed with candles and soft music. Flowers lined the aisles. At the front, Jabari stood proudly, dressed in a cream-colored suit with green embroidery. Then Thandiwe entered, glowing in a white lace gown. The entire room stood. Mama Joyce whispered, "Now that is what purpose looks like in love." As they said their vows, Jabari's voice trembled. "You didn't just change my life. You gave it meaning." Thandiwe smiled, her voice strong. "You didn't rescue me. We rescued each other." Cheers erupted as they were pronounced husband and wife. Later, at the reception, guests danced in circles, elders clapping, children laughing, rich and poor moving together in rhythm. From that day on, they built not just a home, but a mission. The Mwanza Banda Foundation began helping immigrants across Zambia, teaching, feeding, lifting others with love and dignity. And as the night wore on, Jabari and Thandiwe swayed gently on the dance floor, candles flickering all around them. In that moment, it was clear. Love, when rooted in purpose, doesn't just build homes, it builds legacy. My beautiful family. What did this story teach you? For me, it reminded me that love rooted in purpose can heal the deepest wounds and build the strongest legacies. If you believe that kindness, sacrifice, and faith still have power in today's world, type legacy in the comments. I'm waiting to hear your thoughts, and if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe and share so we can keep telling these beautiful African tales.